Alright, time for my award picks. So, obviously, I want to get these in before the season starts so no one can claim, oh, you just saw week one and, that's why you're going for, this guy to win MVP and this guy to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, you're such a front runner. No, okay? As I'm recording this, no games have happened. As you listen to this, some games may have happened depending on when you listen to this, but regardless, these are my picks for each award that's going to be given out. The NFL one is at the end of the season. So come back to me when I've gone 7 for 7 or however many awards there are. I actually haven't done the count, but I've done it for everyone. So, first up, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I've gone for Ashton Jeanty of the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, Freudian slip there. But obviously, I think he's going to be kind of a big focal point of the Raiders offense this season, and he's going to have an impressive stat line. We saw what he was able to do at Boise State, and I think running back is the easiest position to translate over to the pros. So Ashton Jeanty, we've seen the contact balance, we've seen the vision he's got. He's going to make a big difference for this Raiders offense this season, and he's gonna have the stat line. He's gonna be great for your fantasy if you've got him. So well done. I just did a dynasty draft yesterday. I didn't manage to get him, but that's fine. I got, who did I even get first pick? Oh yeah, I got Bijan. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, my guy. You see Lord Julio watching over me. Yeah, make sure of that. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race, and I think there are some people who may pick Cam Ward. Obviously, the past 2 years have seen quarterbacks win that award, but those obviously are two quarterbacks that have made playoff runs, and I don't think the Titans are going to be good enough to give Cam Ward the platform to win this award. So I think Ashton Jeanty takes a nod on that one. Oh, also for each of these awards, I'm going to give a dark horse candidate that I think could sneak up on people. And for this Offensive Rookie of the Year, I've gone Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren of the Colts. I think he's someone who's going to get a big amount of targets for the Indianapolis Colts there, and he's one that can sneak up on people and get a Brock Bowers level. Maybe not to that level, but obviously Brock Bowers was someone who broke the record for tight end rookie yards, and Tyler Warren, whether he breaks it or not, he's going to get pretty close, I do believe. So that's my dark horse for this award. Defensive Rookie of the Year. No, pardon there. Wait for the Defensive Player of the Year in a bit. Abdul Carter for this one of the Giants. I think he's I'm going to put the marker down here. Staying healthy, he gets double-digit sacks because he's someone who really has got the capabilities to do so. And then another number 11 from Penn State, as I mentioned earlier, obviously Micah Parsons being the other one. They have had a really good record of producing pass rushes, at least in the past couple of years, and I think Abdul Carter is going to be the next edition of that. I think that Giants defense as well is going to be really serious and really something to deal with. It's going to be in the top 10, and I think out of all the awards, I think Abdul Carter's one who has the best chance to at least win his category, and he'll have a lot of shine in that pass rush as opposed to a Brian Burns and a Kayvon Thibodeau, who are also really good players, but I think Abdul Carter, at least as the rookie, as someone coming in, will get a lot of that shine and get that Defensive Rookie of the Year pub. My dark horse for this might seem a little homerish, but James Pierce Jr., seen him preseason, see all the reports coming out of training camp from the Atlanta Falcons that he is someone who has really shone and has really made a name for himself, at least in terms of getting past the tackle and getting to the quarterback. And wow, I think he's out of the two Falcons rookies, he's the more ready-made one to make an instant impact, and I think he's another one, especially considering the pass rush issues that the Falcons have had in previous years. If James Pierce Jr. can come in and be a real big impact on it to make a Falcons pass rush passable and, Falcons pass rush that is effective in games, that is one where he can really rise up the ranks and really, put a real stake for the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. So he'd be my dark horse for this one. Offensive Player of the Year, have gone Jamar Chase. This is a pretty simple one in terms of someone who was a Triple Crown winner last year, led the league in receptions, receiving touchdowns, and receiving yards, and I don't really see any reason that's going to slow down. I think you've obviously got all the pieces there in place with Jamar Chase obviously Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, that he's going to get the ball, he's going to get his numbers, he's going to get his targets, he's just going to be in and around there. And obviously last year we saw Saquon win it, and he did something that, history making in a 2,000-yard season. That hasn't happened a lot in the years gone by, but I don't know if he can maintain that sort of level 2 years on a bounce. When you look at Jamar Chase, I think he is someone who is obviously younger, less taxing on the body, I'd say, than the running back position. So it's fair to assume that he is going to be able to, have another, maybe not Triple Crown, but obviously be very high in the rankings for each of those stats. So the Jamar Chase from Offensive Player of the Year. Dark horse, Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars. I think, again, it's one where it is obviously a rank outsider for it, but also someone who can have a very high ranking in all the receiver statistics. He was top 5 in receiving yards last year, I believe, and that he's obviously only going to get better. You'll have Trevor Lawrence, hopefully, knock on wood, for a whole season, so you'll have the quarterback that will be able to get you the ball. Not sure if Travis Hunter is going to exactly take targets away, considering he's probably going to do shifts on the defensive end as well, so he is still going to be the focal point of the offense. And for a Jaguars team that I obviously in my predictions put to win the AFC South, is a player that will be a very big part of that, and could see his stats rise. So obviously dark horse candidate, but I'm going to stake my claim to that Brian Thomas Jr. will have a big season and will make a big impact for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Defensive Player of the Year, obviously mentioned him earlier, Micah Parsons. I think obviously with these awards, they obviously tend to be quite storyline based and quite in the media, like, this would be great if after all that's gone through, all that's happened, that he ends up bringing this award. And obviously Micah Parsons has been a big story out of late and will continue to be a big story throughout the season. So he's someone who can easily maintain and continue his sack rates that he's had in recent years. And again, for a Packers team that is going to be competing at the high level, up in and around the playoff spots and in and around the divisional championship game, all that sort of stuff, that Micah Parsons is going to be someone who's a talking point and is going to be high in the sack statistics over the course of the year. So I think Micah Parsons is going to get that acclaim of being the Defensive Player of the Year. And then dark horse, Dexter Lawrence. Again, my earlier point of the Giants' defense is going to be a defense that has a lot of names and is going to keep the Giants in a lot of games. And if the Giants miraculously, however, make a playoff run, or the Giants are a much more competitive outfit, because in the past 2 years they've almost been a laughingstock, or they just have been a laughingstock, if I'm going to be blunt. If the Giants are able to maintain some sort of competitiveness and maybe stay in the playoff race, the wild card race, going into the end of the year, that Dexter Lawrence is a name that comes up and is like, oh, okay, that's a very important cog of this Giants defensive machine. So let's give him the nod for Defensive Player of the Year. So there's my pick for that. Protector of the Year. This is a new one. They've given offensive linemen an accolade now, which obviously is a great thing for them. So my pick for that this year is going to be Penei Sewell of the Detroit Lions. Obviously the Lions have lost a fair amount of their or at least their interior. They lost Zeitler to free agency. They lost Frank Ragnow to retirement. So if the Lions do maintain the levels that they've had on the offensive line, which I do believe they will, it's going to be in large part to Penei Sewell on that right tackle position. And also if the Lions continue their trick play ways, and Penei Sewell lined up as a tight end almost, and maybe gets to catch maybe even a touchdown or whatever at some point. He's going to be a name that is going to be will rank high in the conversation for this award. So Penei Sewell is my pick for this. I don't really have a dark horse for this. It's kind of a tough one because I feel like whatever name I put up, whether it be like a Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata, it's not really a dark horse because all the offensive linemen are pretty, all the good ones at least are pretty well known and don't really seem like, oh, okay, this is one that can, come up late. Like, we'll see. You can't really predict someone to rise up the ranks. You just have your solid ones that you just know, okay, these are the premier ones in the position. I've got a similar sort of feeling towards this next award, so I won't have a dark horse for it. But comeback player of the year, I've got Aiden Hutchinson. Last year was a really tough year for, I guess, him personally as well, because it was a pretty bad injury for Aiden Hutchinson in that game against the Cowboys, Lions Cowboys. So I think if he's able to play a big role for this team, again, a Lions team that will be up there in the playoff picture in the NFC. So Aiden Hutchinson's someone who's obviously a big part of what they do. He's a big part of them being able to be a competitive team and getting to the pass rusher, which is, again, as I said earlier, a very important thing for players to be able to do. So Aiden Hutchinson coming back from that sort of sickening leg injury and playing a part and playing a big role in what the Lions do is definitely my pick for comeback player of the year, and I think that's almost a gimme. I don't think there's going to be many other candidates. Maybe a Dak Prescott because he's had the hamstring injury, but yeah, in terms of comeback player of the year, it seems like it should be a slam dunk for Aiden Hutchinson. And the last award, MVP, I've gone to go for Lamar Jackson. He should have won it last year, in my personal opinion. I think with the statistics he was able to put up, like 4,000 yards, like leading in touchdowns, barely any interception, which is not something you could really say about Lamar Jackson in terms of him being up there as a passer, not just as a runner. And as a runner, he's pretty damn good. So he's someone who I believe will just continue to be at that premier level and continue to play at such high level and put the numbers up for a Ravens team who I believe are going to be the one seed in the AFC. So there's another one where I just think he's going to get the nod and the acclaim for being that guy for the Ravens and being the most valuable, because if Derrick Henry is able to do what he does because Lamar's there in terms of the read option game, and the Ravens don't exactly have star receivers, so if Lamar is able to perform to the level I expect him to perform at, I think he's going to get to the nod for MVP. And so my dark horse for this one, it's pretty Detroit heavy here. It's Jared Goff as the dark horse for MVP, because the Lions are obviously a team that has lost a fair amount in the offseason. They lost Ben Johnson, they lost defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. So they're a team that, if they're able to maintain the level, the players on the field will get a lot more acclaim, especially Jared Goff, who is someone who's, I don't want to say maligned, or I don't want to, but it seems like he gets a bit underrated because he's made a Super Bowl in his career. He's obviously been really close with the Lions in the past couple of years, but it's still like, Jared Goff almost holds you back from being able to win the big one, and especially considering that performance he had in the Commanders game in the playoffs last year. It's like, Jared Goff, not really sure, but if he has another season where he's able to, take the Lions there and thereabout near the 1 seed, or there and thereabout being very high in the playoff rankings, I think he's someone who will get a fair amount of acclaim and a fair amount of votes and pub for the MVP award. So I think that's a dark horse to keep an eye on for this award. And finally, my Super Bowl matchup. Who do I think is going to face each other? It's the Eagles in the NFC and the Ravens in the AFC. So obviously I said they're going to be the 1 seed. I do believe this is the year that Baltimore's able to get over the hump, and I think the Eagles are a team that's maintained their superiority in their division and in the conference in a large part. So that's my Super Bowl matchup winner. I have the Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl this year. As I've mentioned, Lamar, the team, the defense, Derrick Henry. It's ranked really high in terms of rosters, and I think it's a team that should have won that Baltimore game. I'm sorry, that Buffalo game last year, if not for that little moment of Mark Andrews dropping the ball on the 2-point conversion. I think they would have kicked on to win that one. But nonetheless, this year I do believe is the Ravens' year. So yeah, those are my awards and Super Bowl pick for this year.